This video is about how compounding can keep you poor. We've all heard about how compounding is the eighth wonder of the world. And if you haven't really been paying attention. This quote is attributed to Albert Einstein, but what often goes unnoticed, or at least uncovered, is the second part of that quote. He who understands it earns it, and he who doesn't pays it. When you watch or listen to talks about money and compounding is mentioned, you'll often hear about how you need to invest for the long term. Stay in and your money will grow day in, day out, year in, year out, and then your wealth will grow, almost on autopilot. Now this is generally the right message, and it taps into everyone's ambitious nature, the desire to grow, the desire to become wealthy. And that's great, but the second part, which doesn't get anywhere near as much coverage, is critical if you are going to be serious about wealth building. The first part is what I call positive compounding. The second part is negative compounding. You can't grow wealthy by doing well on this, but doing badly on that. In fact, if you suffer from negative compounding, your financial life will get worse, even if you are doing great on the positive compounding side of saving and investing. We all want to live happy, great lives. We have desires and ambitions. Trying to fulfill these desires through debt, though, can lead to exactly the opposite outcome. This can even be made worse if you consider yourself to have a good income. Because if your income is good, and if your income grows, then your aspirations naturally rise as well. It's when these aspirations turn into debt-driven spending that the problems start. Every year, the amount of debt that people go into increases. I mean, consider your own situation. How much of your salary, your income, goes into paying interest on any type of consumer debt? Data shows that the number of people that are stuck in a personal debt situation is growing pretty much everywhere. And I don't mean any type of debt here. I'm talking about the type of debt that is bad debt, that I call bad debt, consumer debt, that takes money out of your pocket every month. Or to put it another way, debt that doesn't put money into your pocket. Because I'm sure you've heard about the other type of debt, good debt, the type of debt that puts money into your pocket, that generates positive cash flow. Here's a quick example. I take out a buy-to-let mortgage to buy a property, and that costs me £1,000 every month. Let's say all other costs add up to £350 a month. And maybe for that property, it attracts £1,900 in rental income each and every month. Then if I do some quick math here somewhere, that brings in £550 of positive cash flow every month, profit every month. This is what I call good debt. I have a loan on the property, a debt on the property, but that loan allowed me to buy that property and generate an income from it. What we were talking about earlier was bad debt. This bad debt is the type of debt that is growing. Bad debt, the type of debt that costs you money every month, like credit cards, like personal loans, or buy now, pay later debt. This is bad debt because it costs you money every month. It isn't generating any money for you. It's costing you money instead, not just what you spent, but the interest that's charged on top of what you spent. You buy stuff which fills your life and brings you momentary joy, and then you get a large bill which you can't pay off in full, and so you pay interest on it every month, and this keeps you poor. This is why your financial situation isn't improving. You're being hammered by the power of negative compounding, or paying interest on interest. By getting into this sort of bad debt, you attract negative compounding effects. In the same way that positive compounding, or interest on interest, or growth on growth, helps your wealth grow, negative compounding, again interest on interest, or even interest on charges, destroys your wealth and destroys any savings or income you have coming in. But it is possible to get out of it. There is a way out, but it isn't an overnight thing. It requires work and consistent action. But I really want people to understand this, so I'm going to say it again. You hear all the time that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. The amount of consumer debt, like credit cards or personal loans, is increasing at an ever-alarming rate. Isn't it reasonable then to consider that one huge reason why the poor might be getting poorer is because they're taking on more and more consumer debt? Which, even if it isn't crippling immediately, the way negative compounding works against you, it will sooner or later become crippling and a drain on any and all income that you bring in, that you work so hard to bring in. Now you know how compounding can work against you to keep you poor. This is why you hear people saying that you need to get out of debt first before saving, investing, or building other sources of income. Let's see why by taking the example of your savings compounding and then looking at how your credit card interest compounds against you, and then compare them to each other. Let's say you have £10,000 in savings and you've put that into a high interest savings account, earning you 4% interest every year. After a year, that 10k will have generated £400 of interest. So you'll now have £10,400 in your account. Then that full £10,400 begins to earn interest in year 2. So now you're not only earning interest on the original £10,000, but you're also earning interest on the interest you've already earned. So interest on interest, the definition of compounding. At the end of year 2, the total amount you have in that high interest savings account now becomes £10,816. Now let's complete all of that So your £10,000, if left alone, will earn compound interest, and after 8 years, the power of positive compounding will turn that into £14,802. Now let's say you also have a credit card balance of £10,000. You only pay the minimum balance, or a little more than the minimum balance, each and every month. And you did this because you wanted to save at the same time. You didn't want to use the money you had to pay off your credit card balance in full. Well, now let's see negative compounding at work, how it works against you. So you've got £10,000 in a credit card balance, and that credit card has a rate of 18.9% that gets charged to you on any outstanding balance. This is about the mid-range, I suspect, as I've seen credit card rates at 8 to 9%, and I've also seen them north of 30%. I'm going to use 18.9% in this example. So if your credit card rate is less than 18.9%, you might do a little better than what I'm about to show you. And if your credit card rate is higher than 18.9%, well, then clearly you'll do worse than what I'm about to show you. So you have a 10K credit card balance. Typically, minimum payments on credit cards are between 1 and 2.5% of the total amount owed. Let's be optimistic and use the higher end of that scale, 2%. So 2% of £10,000 is £200. You pay that £200 as a minimum amount on your credit card bill. So in month 1, you pay £200 and get charged interest on the rest. It's 18.9% annually, so the monthly amount you get charged in year 1 for interest is £154. Your new balance is a little over £9,954 now. Do you already see how stupid this is for your financial health? In month 2, the minimum balance is £199, but you decide to stick to £200 like you did last time. But don't forget, you still get charged interest on the rest. The interest added this time is £154.63, and this comes from the interest charged on the original sum that you owe, plus the interest that you got charged last time. So again, interest on interest, the definition of compounding. But this time it is compounding against you. This is why I call it negative compounding. It is positive for someone, however. It's positive for the credit card company. They are making more and more money from you each and every month. Now, doing like this, the credit card bill will go down over time, as long as you don't get into more debt, that is. But doing it this way, with compounding working against you, that original £10,000 credit card balance that you had will take over 7.5 years for you to pay off. Now let's compare this to the savings from before. The positive compounding effect of your savings gave you £4,800, but the credit card interest, your debt, the negative compounding effect of that led to a negative £7,900, leading to a total negative number of £3,172. You are over £3,100 worse off. This is why people talk about getting out of debt first, because you have to fix your leaky financial bucket before doing anything else. But remember, it's not just the negative compounding effect on credit card interest. Negative compounding can catch you out in a number of ways. It's even present in your investments, in the fees you pay to your investment funds to keep them running. The higher they are, the more they're working against you, and probably not even giving you a better return for that higher fee. And it's those fees that negatively compound against you, but in a more sneaky way. I'm doing a video on that soon, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel to hear about it when it comes out. And of course, there's fear too, which can also compound against you if left unchecked. But that's for another time. Avoid the effects of negative compounding. Get your money under your control and start moving in the right financial direction. If you want to learn how to fix your leaky financial bucket, then you want to watch this video over here. Remember, stay smart, and I'll see you on the next one.